Yo, what's up, guys? Wanted to just answer some of the questions you guys had commented on Facebook. So, yeah, this was after SIC, after the first race coming back after kind of my 14-month retirement. So yeah, I'm just gonna read through, answer the questions. Why white? Why did I choose white compound over super soft at SIC? Was it track temp related? Not really track temp related. With the hot race white compound, it's more so like moisture related. It does kind of need to be cooler, but I've even used that compound if it's like 65, 70 degrees if the track is wet. And so it was mainly to do with the moisture in the track. SIC, the white compound, just works super, super good every time I've been there. And they weren't really like watering the track, but with all the rain and the cold temperatures, the track just stayed pretty wet underneath. You know, it looked pretty dry probably on the broadcast, but there was still some moisture in it even on main day. So that was the main reason there. Who was my biggest challenge consistently during my career? That I would say just like looking back at my career as a whole, consistently who I was battling would be Mayfield and Cavallari. Both of those guys, and they were just different. I had like a different mentality kind of racing both of them. I was always a little bit more confident racing Cavallari, a little bit less confident, I would say, racing against Mayfield. But both of them, you know, I raced probably the most in my career and really enjoyed racing both of them, honestly. It was super awesome looking back, you know, from, I don't know, 2007, 8, all the way through, you know, 2015, I would say it was, you know, us three battling each other a lot. So that was really cool. Most underrated driver? I'm not really sure who I would say is the most underrated driver. I'm not too sure. And then these were kind of like Gypsy Tale style questions. So then there was another one, my 1/8 scale Mount Rushmore. So this kind of gets asked a lot in motocross. What's your Mount Rushmore? So like 4 top guys. And for this is another one that's super, super tough. I couldn't really get it to like just 4. If I had to just pick 4, it would be, and this is not in any like specific order, it would be like Mayfield, Finn, Canas, and Ongaro. I would say those 4, you know, even right now, like those 4 guys are at like top peak. I would probably say Canas is like the best guy currently right now. You know, with being able, like, he comes to the US more than Ongaro does. And he can win on like smooth high grip, and he can also win on rough low grip. So that's pretty impressive. And he can win at like AMS, which like the race time races are super difficult, I would say, for someone that doesn't race those to come and check those out and try to race at one. Ongaro, obviously 3 world championships in a row is like unreal. And I really like that family and everything. I just think, you know, he doesn't quite get the variety of races that Canas goes to. Mayfield and Finn in the US are just, you know, super consistent, really, really fast. And then there's 2 more, like Ty Testman and David Ronald-Folk, I would put like really close to being on that. You know, both 1/8 scale world champions, which, you know, only Ongaro in my other list is a world champion. But I don't put like all the weight on that one event just because it's one event. But Ty and Ronald Folk won a ton. I raced against both of them a lot, and they were super good competitors. So I don't know, those 6 would be on there. And then what matters most with the tune of your engine at a big event, low, mid, top? I would say what matters most for a tune of the engine is the mid-range. You know, if the mid-range is off, then kind of the whole engine is always off. You can kind of like get it kind of close, but something's gonna not be right with mainly the bottom end, not so much the top end. So in my opinion, the mid-range is like the most important needle, because that, I always kind of explain it, it's like the shock piston. Like, you know, the bottom end and top end are kind of like shock oil, where yeah, you can change the shock oil a little bit and it kind of changes the feel, but not really. The piston makes the shock work differently more than the shock oil does. So that's like the mid-range sets kind of where the tune of the engine's going to be, and then the top and bottom just kind of need, you know, they're like the shock oil to where you have like a little range to where that shock piston kind of works. So I would say mid-range. Setup changes during SIC. So I didn't really change my like my buggy, I didn't really change my setup at all during SIC. I tried a little something for Q2 and it didn't really work, just because I was messing with my truggy setup. So I tried adding a little bit of rear toe, and I just didn't like that at all. It made my car like step out in the middle of the corner and then be inconsistent feeling exiting the corner. Like I wasn't sure if it was gonna like grip up and kind of track towards the outside, or if it was gonna like snap loose and kind of like put me more towards the inside exiting the turns. So for Nitro Buggy, I really didn't change my car at all, even through the track conditions. You know, I thought my car wasn't that set up for like the loose conditions when it first started, mainly with my diff oil setup. But as soon as the track cleaned up, and even right away, my car was super good. You know, the track did blow out a little bit, but really for me, like I don't change my car a ton when the track gets rough, depending on like what my shock piston setup is. But I've been running the VRP 20 hole, and I feel like that piston works really good, rough conditions, smooth conditions, to where I don't really have to change anything. So, you know, my buggy was great. Really, the only thing I changed was I went from like a plastic wing to a Lexan wing when the grip came up, and I like the Lexan wing lately. I kind of just ran the plastic wing at the beginning just because I knew the track was going to be loose, and with like the open practice, I knew I would be having crashes and stuff like that, so I didn't want to break my Lexan wings. I didn't have that many. For Nitro Truggy, I did a decent amount of setup changes just because it was a new truck for me. So it wasn't really for track conditions, it was just trying to figure it out. It was mainly with the shocks, moving the locations. I ended up just middle, where like I started basically like similar to like a base setup for the ET 2.2, which is outside front on the arm, inside rear on the arm, and I just kind of struggle with that feeling. So I ended up middle, which then I had to kind of change my my oils around a little bit, and then I ended up changing my pistons around some because I was running the VRP 20 hole, and I had them flipped like I do in the Nitro Buggy, where the rear is in the front is in the rear, with some of the holes drilled out, and it just didn't work in the truck. Like my truck was loose pretty much the whole time. So once I added a little bit of pack to the front, took away a little pack in the rear with the pistons for the main, my truck was killer. It was super good. So not really a ton of setup changes. I did go a little heavier in my rear diff oil for the truck main, which that's pretty normal, I would say, for the race time races. Like my front and center was already I thought like in a pretty good range, but I left my rear a little bit lighter for when the track was loose, and then when the track gripped up, I went up in the rear. I could have done that for a nitro buggy, but I was a little unsure, and it wasn't going to make or break my race. More or less nerves after taking a break, after like my retirement that I had. I would say a lot less nerves because I had a lot less pressure. I wasn't there trying to win or expecting to win or having like the companies that I'm representing expecting me to win. So I felt less nerves with that, but that would kind of tie into pressure. Like my first qualifier on the clock in Truggy, I would say I was really nervous just because I hadn't done it in a while. So a little bit mixed bag with that. Anything unexpected from the weekend? Not really. I would say maybe the only thing unexpected, which I was hoping would happen, was my nerves of like that pressure coming back never really happened. I didn't feel pressure in the main, even when I had my battery issue in the Truggy main and I was battling for a podium, like I wasn't mad about it. A little bit bummed, yeah, but I wasn't mad about it. It didn't change my day. It didn't change my attitude or anything like that. So I would say that was unexpected. I wanted that to be the case, but I wasn't sure if that would be the case. This is actually a good question. What did I learn about my family during my retirement and what brought me back? So I would say what I learned the most was I put way too much weight on my results, and it fluctuated my attitude and my mood way too much to where, like, my family, the family goes through the most during, like, any, professional's career or whatever. They see all the highs and lows and everything like that. So I would say the biggest thing I learned about them was, like, they really support me, want the best for me, love me, care about me, like regardless of, what my results would be. And not like that I thought, oh, my kids only like me because I'm Jared Tebow, like winning RC races. Nothing like that. I could have not been so like roller coaster up and down emotionally with my race results, which is a tough thing to do, but that was something that I learned about them, and just like how awesome they are. Like I love spending time with my family and with my kids and being more present. That was something I really struggled with, is being able to turn my racing on and off. So that was tough. What brought me back was basically to do JTP and have it support our family enough. I needed to be back in driving, going to more events, being just more active. Like when I wasn't driving, it was difficult to be active with JTP just because I was kind of doing other things. And I didn't feel like I wanted to like squander my 23 years that I invested into RC and just like dump it and go somewhere else. So I kind of had to pick and choose. It was, if I'm kind of doing RC halfway, JTP wasn't going to succeed. So I either dump it, totally jump into a different career, kind of like the route like Ty Tessman went, which, I definitely thought about a lot. Mainly just the drama side. I don't like the drama. I don't like the haters. I don't like reading crummy comments on Facebook. That like bothers me a lot. So that side, I kind of like, that intrigued me to just get rid of it. But at the same time, I felt like God really put some things in place and like gave me JTP and presented certain opportunities to where I have a lot of freedom with it. and I don't want to squander it. Like, I worked super hard for a long time to build my reputation, build my name in RC, and just to like run away from it, I feel like would not do that fully justice. So that's kind of why I'm back racing. Let's see here. What servos are you using? I'm using the JTP Nitro Pro CT3. I actually have one right here because I'm doing a couple customer builds for JTP. But yeah, I use that servo. You know, did a lot of testing. Pretty much the specs are like exactly what I like. I use it steering and throttle. I would say most of my career I always use the same servo, steering and throttle. You know, the other question is like, is torque or speed more important? You have to have a little bit of both in 8 scale, but I would say I'll take a little bit more torque over a little bit more speed, mainly like for the braking, and then just like keeping like your wheels really steady when you're cornering and stuff like that. Something that can really hold really well. But yeah, I love the CT3 servos. You know, I basically made them for me, and that's the feel that I like, and I really like the way they feel in the throttle and the steering. Overall thoughts on the Nova engines is money well spent getting one. My overall thoughts have been really good, honestly. You know, I talked to a lot of people that had ran them before, and everyone kind of said the feeling was really good, but they had some reliability issues, different things like that. So I talked a lot with the owner of Nova, and you know, had a little bit of concern with the reliability side, but you know, I trusted what they were telling me, that they went in, they fixed some of the issues, and you know, so for me, when I wanted to run them, like I didn't want to take my OS engine knowledge to them, so I went in, I would say, probably more open-minded than maybe some of the others did, as far as like really listening to what the Nova guys tell me, like how I should tune it, how long my pressure line should be, what venturi I should run, what air filter I should run, different things like that. And I've had to learn a lot of like how it sounds on the box, you know, like how I tune my Nova engine. If my OS engine sounded like how my Nova does on the starter box, it would not run good on the track. So that's been the biggest thing, is just like learning how they sound on the starter box and learning how to tune it to make it run the way that it needs to on the track. And I'm figuring that out pretty well, but with the winter time, I can't do as much testing and running as I would like to. But my first just like overall impression right now is I love the engines. The feel is really, really good. OS engines, reliability is great. Tunability, I would say, is great with an OS. The engine feel, honestly, I never really liked. For me, they're too smooth on the bottom and then too fast. Like they have this ramp up power in the mid-range to top end. And it was a struggle. Like a couple of the engines, you know, felt better at certain times, but I always like struggled with that feel. So what I did was I always ran like bigger venturis and turned my EPA down a little bit to try to like cut out that top end, but then like get that torque feel. And I feel like with the Nova engines, they're just torquier off the bottom, and then they don't have that ramp up feel. So like I have that bottom feel, and then I just feel more in control driving my car. And that was really noticeable at SIC, especially in the mains when the track gets really dusty. I feel like that's where I've struggled a lot in my last few years racing, was in the mains when the track was at its toughest, of just like trying to manage my engine power, and I couldn't do it that well. And so, yeah, I would say money is very well spent on the Nova engines, and I love the feel right now. I've been using the X3, which is a 3-port on my buggy, and the X5, which is a 5-port on my truggy, and yeah, couldn't be happier with them. Let's see. Oh, Graham asked, how long for the trigger tickler? That was a funny question. We went to a race, and there was like a racer with his name was like Trigger Tickler or something like that. So yeah, it took me a few practices to really get that tickle back in me. Diff setup on both my cars, start to finish. So this is something new that I've been doing. I've just been running 3 spider gears in my diffs instead of the traditional 4. Some people run 2, some people run 4. I'm running 3, which, you know, seems kind of odd, but I really, really like the feel. So I'm going to make another video kind of explaining it more in detail. But basically, my diff setup in Nitro Buggy was 15-15-8. That's what I started with. That's what I ran the whole time. I think I could have gone to 10 in the rear, and it would have been really good in the main, and probably the last 2 qualifiers as well. And in Nitro Truggy, I ran 20-20-12, and then I went to 15 in the rear for the main. So those ranges I would say are really good for like your average track, you know, nothing too crazy high bite. If it gets high bite, you know, you need to go up. So with the 3 gear diffs, you do need to run a little heavier oil. And I feel like you can run heavier oil and the car is more stable, but also has really good grip to where like it feels like it has the grip and the response of a lower diff oil, but on high speed it just has more stability. So that's what I've really liked. And it has more oil in it, and I didn't feel like any fade whatsoever in the 30-minute main. So that was super encouraging. My approach any different now than when I was racing as a so-called professional. I don't really call me being like back to being a pro driver right now. I'm racing, but JTP is still my focus. So, you know, my planning and preparation being different. Yes, it's very different because I'm not practicing all the time. I'm not, you know, trying to be like the best racer in the world anymore. You know, my goals are different, my expectations are different. So yeah, the planning and preparation is a lot different. You know, if I need to ship orders for JTP or go practice, I'm going to ship the orders first before I prioritize my practicing. Or if my son has a basketball game, or do I go practice? I'm going to go to my son's basketball game instead. So, you know, yeah, the preparation stuff's a lot different now, which isn't a bad thing. Let's see, piston and oil in both my cars and flipping my pistons around. This is a good question too. See, I should have written my pistons and the oils down. So I'm running the 20-hole VRP. And in buggy, I am flipping them around. So rear piston in the front, which is like 3-hole 1.5, 1-hole 1.6. And then I'm running the front piston in the rear, which I drill 3 of the holes out. So it's a 4-hole 1.5. And I'm running 575 in my front shock, 450 in the rear shock. That feels super good. I like that a lot. I think that's like my kind of warmer weather. I might have dropped it down. I think I actually ran 550 and 425 at SIC just because it was really, really cold. I don't change my oil like a ton for cold weather like some people claim they do. You know, for me, like a 25 or 50 is kind of all you need to do. You know, in the cold, my car feels stiffer than like it would normally, you know, and if it's super, super hot, my car feels lighter than what I feel like it kind of should. But on the track, you know, I feel like if you're changing your oil a whole bunch for temperature, it just drives terrible on the track. So, yeah, I think I was actually 550, 425. For Nitro Truck, shoot, I am not even sure. I should have wrote that down. I am going to post my setups here shortly, so I'll put them on there, answer your question a little bit better. For truck, I ran the front piston in the front, but I did drill the 3 holes, so it was a 4-hole 1-5 in the front, and it was 3-hole 1-5, 1-hole 1-6 in the rear. I would be lying if I tried guessing the oil. I think it was like 550, 450, maybe somewhere around there, but I'm not 100% sure. So then he had a question too about different KPIs, you know. So I ran the Mayako car where we had 3 different KPIs. Does that change a car from C-hub to pillow ball? In my opinion, no. I haven't ever owned a pillow ball. I've driven a pillow ball. Doesn't really, it does change the feel of the car. It does change the feel of the car. At Techno, we've had different KPIs, you know, like the 2.0 had more KPI, the 2.1, 2.2 style is like 0 KPI. You know, even like some people have tested like more KPI with the 2.1 or 2.2 knuckles, which I did that before I switched to Mayako, and it does make a difference. You know, 0 KPI is kind of more steering like initially right away. You know, me personally, I don't think Techno needs to offer more KPI to their current car. I think you should just kind of pick one and stick to it. And whatever way, if you want to go one way or the other, you kind of need to stick to it, because a lot of the other setup of the car has to change. So it's not like I'm going to run my car and be like, oh, I'm just going to add some KPI and that's the only change I'm going to make. Like, you need to make rear end changes, and like some Ackerman changes and bump steer changes and things like that so I don't know. I think you should just pick one and stick to it, is my opinion. Someone asked what made me come back. I kind of already answered it. So mainly just, you know, I needed to be more active if I want JTP to succeed. And also, I was super burned out when I decided to retire, like wildly burnt out. 2023 was just a really crummy year. Mentally, I was just like, I couldn't really handle it anymore. Emotionally, I couldn't handle it anymore, and I was just done. I needed a break. So the start of 2024, I was completely over it. 0 desire to drive. Then by the end of the year, I was like, man, driving's pretty fun. Racing's pretty fun. If I could somehow do this without the pressure, I think I would like it. And, you know, I want to like RC. I loved RC for a very long time. I love driving the cars. So I wanted to see if I could come back, you know, make a little bit of money, race with no pressure, see if I can enjoy it, get that love back, and then be more excited to work for JTP. And, you know, that's the goal. And, you know, it's happening right now, and hopefully it'll last for a while. Did I think of any new JTP products during SIC? That's another reason too. If I'm not like active, I thought it was really difficult to try to have like product ideas. And yeah, I did think of some ideas, and you know, hopefully in the next coming months we'll have some new products coming out. Am I calling RC a hobby or a profession? I don't know. I feel like that's a super silly debate. Like, anything can be a hobby or a profession. You know, photography can be a hobby or a profession. Depends on if you're doing it as a hobbyist or as a professional. You know, I feel like that's such a silly debate in RC. You know, obviously for me, RC is a profession. I feed my family with money I make from RC. I pay my mortgage bill with money that I make from RC. So it is a profession. You know, do I want to have like the pressure and hate it like some people hate their professions? No, I want to enjoy it like I do a hobby. You know, mountain biking is my hobby. I love mountain biking. I do it to get away from my profession. And so, I don't know. RC is a profession for me because it's my job. What event am I looking forward to? And who do I miss hanging out with? What event do I look forward to? Mm, that's difficult. You know, I would say like DNC, I didn't look forward to for like quite a while. I'm actually really looking forward to DNC. Really want a cool, challenging track, technical track, not crazy high speed. So Joey, if you watch this, slow it down a little bit, build it super technical. I don't know. I like that place. I like the dirt. Our hot race tires like work incredibly well there. Driving at night, I think I'll struggle with some, but I'm really looking forward to DNC. Looking forward to racing the Nationals again too. I just like the Nationals. Wicked Weekend is probably my favorite race time event. And last year, I thought the track was cool, and I was kind of bummed I wasn't racing. That was probably the race that kicked it off for me. Is like, man, it looks fun out there because I love Wicked Weekend. So I'm looking forward to that one. Who did I miss hanging out with? You know, unfortunately for me, I kind of like, I wouldn't say I isolated myself in my racing, but like, especially at the end of my career, I wasn't really like super buddy with anyone. You know, when I was younger, I would say I had some like really core friends kind of racing and we like hung out more, but towards the end, I didn't really have that many people that I hung out with other than like Graham, my pit guy. You know, we have our most fun hanging out, not at the RC track. But I do miss hanging out with him at the RC track. So I hope we do get to hang out some this year. Maybe even he can pit me at a race or two. I'm really looking forward to spending some time with my dad at a couple races and having him pit me this year. You know, as far as other, like I really like just seeing everybody. Like I kind of missed hanging out, and which at the race time races, I hate the practice lines. But also in the practice lines, I get to talk to a lot of people I wouldn't normally talk to. So SIC, I enjoyed waiting in the practice line and getting to talk to people. So not really that many specific people, but I love just chatting it up with anybody really at the races. This was kind of a funny question. I don't know if it was like a passive aggressive question or not, but whatever. I'll answer it anyways. Why didn't I win and what could I have done different? Why didn't I win is because I'm not practicing very much. You know, I didn't drive for probably like 2.5 weeks leading up to SIC. And I only drove a few times before that, really. And like the top guys are stupid good right now. It's crazy how good people are. Like a lot of the people, you know, I was in the main, you know, like in buggy, I was like up front and then I crashed and dropped back and, you know, I'm battling in 13th or whatever. And it's like, dude, we're battling hard and I'm driving good. And just the field is super deep. Like everybody is good in the field, especially at the beginning of the race where everyone's still kind of like, you know, you're still kind of in the hunt. After about halfway and the field's separated some, it's like a little bit different. But, you know, I didn't think I would win at all. Like I'm pretty realistic with what my expectations would have been. And I think there was zero chance I was going to win. So what could I have done different? Practice way more, dedicated way more to it, but I'm not willing to do that anymore. So that's kind of where that line is, you know. Do I think maybe I could, you know, win a race? I don't know. Maybe if like everything lined up right, you know, I think I could maybe win like a truggy race somewhere. I feel like I'm just more confident in truggy. I feel like I can get away with being a little bit more rusty. Buggy is difficult. You have to like really drive on the edge of, for me, I'm like on the edge or over my edge of comfort in buggy with the current speed. So, you know, am I going to win a nitro buggy race this year, like a big race with everyone there? Probably not. I mean, I would say no, I'm not. But I'm okay with that. You know, I do want to do good. I do want to get on the podium. I do plan to practice when the weather gets better and get more into it, go to the track with my son and drive more. So, you know, maybe that changes later in the year. we will see. Am I going to come back for a 1/10th campaign? Probably not. I would love to, but man, I just don't have enough hours in the day or enough days in the year. You know, kind of the way JTP is, it's more supported to 1/8 scale side. And, you know, man, 3 kids, they're growing up, they play sports. I ride my mountain bike. I want to have a good marriage, so me and my wife hang out. I don't have any extra time to do 10 scale cars at all. And, you know, honestly, too, with the way 10 scale is right now, like, I'm just not super interested in it. Which is a bummer. Mod 2 wheel, I would say during my whole time of my career, was my favorite class to drive. So if I could go back to like 2011 and drive Mod 2 wheel, I would do that right now, and I would love every second of it. Return of 1/10th gas truck. This is my last question I wrote down. You know, I think it's super cool. I love gas truck. You know, but man, just the times have changed. You know, there's not really any good gas truck engines. Even like the new trucks, like, you know, the Ignites, they drive good on high grip stuff, but, you know, it's just different. I don't know. The tracks are way different. They're way bigger. You know, is it going to come back and like the pros are going to be racing gas truck? No, not a chance. 0% chance that happens. Does gas truck grow in certain areas on like a regional level? Yes, I think absolutely. You know, Florida's a good place for it. There's outdoor tracks that are kind of smaller. They don't get super blown out. You know, there's different areas that are going to support it. I hope it does well. Like, I love gas truck. You know, with like the new GT coming out, I think that's pretty cool. Maybe some companies will make some better 12 engines that make it more, you know, feel better on the track. You know, for me, am I going to put a bunch of effort to try to drive a gas truck again? Probably not. My memories of gas truck are like really good, and the couple gas trucks you know, when someone's like, oh, drive my gas truck, you know, I drive it and I'm just like, oh, this thing's terrible. You know, like the engine feels like garbage. The brakes are terrible feeling. Your slipper is way too loose. Like, you know, so, and just like the tracks are different. The tires are way different. So it's just not the same. You know, I hope it does well. Like, the Ignite company is super cool. My buddy started it. I had a small little part in the testing, which I enjoyed. I thought was really cool. You know, it got sold to a really good guy down in Florida. He's all into it. He's all about it. And I hope it does really well for him. You know, Associated releasing a vintage kit, I think super cool. I hope it does well for them. You know, for me, I'm not like itching to build one. Yeah. So that's kind of all the questions I had. I hope you enjoyed the answers, and yeah, I hope to do kind of some more videos like this, and yeah, share a little bit of insight of what goes on with these events, what goes on with JTP, what goes on with my cars I'm running, and yeah, just bring some good content for you guys. So make sure to check out my YouTube channel, like and subscribe. Get some notifications when new videos go. I'm probably going to try to do like 1 video per week kind of type thing. There'll be different styles and different things like that. But yeah, make sure to check it out. And we'll see you at the next race, man. Thanks for watching.